grit and determination and everything that you thought was going to be able to like push you forward along the scales of, the corporate ladder, so to speak, would flourish. But in the long run, as long as you're in the lines of filling somebody else's pocket, your chances for becoming, I don't know, safe, secure, stable, for yourself or your family becomes very dismal. So even though I'm much older now and um, I've dabbled into a few things here and there, there's nothing better. There's nothing more satisfying than being able to set up my own shop and really provide for my family on my own terms, on my own schedule. So I have the time freedom to do what matters most to me, to be with those that I care for the most. And being here like this right now, yeah, it's a Saturday. And if I were still stuck in the restaurant or retail business, I'd be at work right now. Right now, serving up plates or, trying to get somebody to look better than what they did when they walked into the store, having to worry about, all these things that really, at the end of the day, aren't my responsibility because I don't own any of that stuff. Everything here, everything right now, yeah, this is my responsibility. The lives that are underneath this roof, that's my responsibility. The food that's in that fridge, that's my responsibility. This is what matters most to me. And I'm so happy that I can be here to do this right now for my family. So that's a little bit about me. I don't want to take, the spotlight away from everybody else, but yeah, that's what I got going on. If Lamont or Carson want to ask me a question about, whatever, go right ahead. I'm here for
Oh
it.
yeah, I just got a question for you. How long before? I mean, it's an interesting story, but how long was it before you just said, enough is enough, and you just wanted to jump into the entrepreneurial space because it's wild out here. It's not something for the faint-hearted to do. But how long was it before you said, okay, you got in your mind, you said you want to transition to, the online space?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a really, really long time. And I'll put things into perspective, right? Um, I spent 8 years in one line of work and 14 years in another line of work, um, that I thought was going to be more beneficial and get me moved up the ranks, but it just didn't pan out that way. And I thought that, the amount of effort that I was putting into my everyday regular job was going to, be fruitful. Um, and it just really wasn't. It really, really wasn't. Um, I'm not trying to be like dismal or anything, but like I would see the people that would be in real leadership roles, right? Governing a body of, 50 to 100 employees and, really having the control, so to speak, as to who gets to advance and who gets to move up and whatever. And when
Right.
you realize that you're the one who kind of takes ownership and tries to move everybody up together, to get booted back down to where you're at,
It
it's
sucks.
crushing. It's crushing.
Yeah.
It's very, very crushing. Um, but when you do something like this, when you're off on your own entrepreneurial, journey, the only person you have to blame is yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. Ain't nobody else. You're the one who, put this behind you to make it happen, to get the wheels turning, and there's nobody else that can take the blame other than yourself. Okay, granted, it's a huge commitment, right? Because people have
Yeah.
that 401k and they have their sick time and PTO and whatever, and it's like cool, there might be a comfort in that. People might find a comfort in that, but nobody in this space is saying drop everything you're doing and go and do this.
Right,
Nobody's saying that.
right.
Everybody
And
says, hey, learn this, learn what you're doing while you're still doing your thing, and you'll make it to a point where it's going to be like, damn, what I'm doing now outweighs what I've been doing, and you'll be able to transition and take off and continue growing.
yeah, Bob, I really like the word you use, responsibility. Responsible for your life's under your roof and providing food on the table and all of that. And that's a big word that people I don't think understand, whether they're a kid or whether they're an adult. Because I know people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s and up that don't know what responsible is. Because
Yeah,
I see them go out and get berated drunk. I see them out go party, staying out till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then come home having to work the next day. And so responsibility, it's like, okay, it's not really a ultimatum. It's like you have to kind of do this thing. There's no if or ands or buts. And so people need to be more responsible. And they're like, well, I have no money. I'm like, well, yeah, because you weren't responsible enough. You didn't you spent it rather than invested it. And people need we're going to educate people on the difference of that because a lot of people don't know it. And so I'm so glad you brought up responsibility, Bob. That's a very, very powerful word and a very, I think, foreign word to a lot of people.
yeah, it is. It is. But I'm sitting right now with a family, of four. Um, and I count my blessings every day because not everybody can have, something like that. At the same time, it's a huge, like, that's a key word today, responsibility. Yeah, it's a huge responsibility for everybody, or for me rather, to have to hold all of this down. And but again, as I was saying before, it's like you learn something, you pick up on the skill, you develop those skills, and you'll see that within, you know, whatever time, X time, that you'll be able to break away from your mundane everyday, go to work, clock in, clock out, to let me just spend, 2 or 3 hours on the computer
Yeah,
and the rest of
yeah,
the day is
yeah.
yours. It's like to me that's my win right there. I can just like
I feel you
put
on
this
that.
on
I
pause
feel
and
you on
walk
that.
over there, hug my kids, say, I love you to my wife, and have to come back if I have to come back here, just shut it down for the rest of the day. The the liberation in that is just so
Yeah, the
can't put
freedom
words
is
to that.
awesome when you
Yeah.
can do that. You can. It's almost like you buying back your time. So you
Yeah.
give your these corporate entities so much of your time. I can't see myself working 40 hours a week anymore. Uh, for somebody who will just replace you if you're not doing the right thing or if you're not doing what they want to do. Uh, but my standpoint on that is, you can work these jobs. You might like it, you might love it, but it's almost like it's a dead end kind of trait that you build from your early 20s to your mid 60s or so forth
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so much of a waste of time because what can you look forward to with your 401k or your retirement if you can't live without ailment? You can't really travel, you can't really do this, you can't really do that. Life is humbling, but some people choose to say, okay, I'm going to stay in this place for 40 years, and then the regrets. I swear, I regret something from 5, 10 years ago that I should have did. Now I'm trying to make amends for it, you know. But that's not one of the things I want to be on my deathbed with. Say, you know what, I should have done this. I should have done that. And it's a long story. I can go on and on about this every day. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people that if you even looking at this podcast right now, a lot of people are saying the same thing. I've been in this dead end job for years, and I go home, I got kids, I'm too tired to play with them. I've been there. We've all been there. Well, except Carson. We waiting on you, Carson.
Yeah, I don't have kids yet,
Come
guys,
join.
so we're all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Come join the club, man. But I feel you on that. And it's nothing greater than when you have responsibilities, but you love the responsibilities when you have the time. You know, and when you don't have the time, it's tragic to me. So I can resonate with you on that for
Yeah,
sure,
and
100%.
it's funny you mentioned that like job and responsibilities because like whenever you were applying for a job, it says job duties and responsibilities. but never have I seen something that says go back to your family at a reasonable hour and
Yeah.
go back to your family in a healthy condition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so I
Yeah.
mean, your job, like our job as males, you know, I mean, I know you guys have kids and you have wives, is to take care and provide for your family. I'll
Oh
be
yeah.
doing that one of these days, very day soon, because you put that hex on me yesterday, Lamont. But yeah, guys, seriously. And so like it's not even in the fine print as well. And so I think that's the big word responsibility. And I think really people need to analyze it, break it down, and actually define what it is to them. Because no one should strip you away from your family for no reason to work for them and to make their kingdom thrive better than yours. Because your kingdom is your house, your life is your life. It shouldn't be anybody else. It shouldn't. No one should dictate what you do in your life and whatever you do with it. So, but yeah, I mean, great points all
Indeed.
around. And
All right. Well, Bob, you got an interesting life, man. I can say I can resonate with you, and I'm gonna get into my little backstory if you finish. I've come through an untraditional path. I want to say, you know, I've been around the world, not that far, but I was born and raised in Manhattan, New York, and way back when, you little young whippersnappers, you don't know about that yet, but way back then, I'm gonna tell these stories. Way back then, I had to walk like 1,000 miles. Now let me stop, but you know, had to go to the candy store and all that. I got real stories here, real life stories.
It
But
snowed every day. There was a hurricane beating down the
even
path.
if it snowed, even if we snowed, we had school, we had to go grocery shopping, we had to do this, but uh, I think my youth was pretty good. I can't really say I was traumatized by a lot, but as a kid, you don't really know what you're traumatized with until you grow up. So um, I had a loving family. I didn't grow up with a mom. She died 6 months after having me. So, I never knew what a mother's feel would feel like, if that resonates with anybody. But I never knew my dad, but I grew up with my grandparents. And grandparents back in the days, they didn't they held an iron fist. You know, be home before the yard lights come on. Do your chores. Eat your Brussels sprouts. So I grew up in that kind of category and stuff like that. But until I was 13, I lost my grandparents. So I moved down south to South Carolina and finished my schooling there, my high school and stuff like that. And it never occurred to me, trying to learn something in school was I was just going through the motions. I never had nobody pushing me in the back saying, you gotta learn, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I was always free will, you know. But that hand-me-down aspect of, well, you have to work hard. You don't you get it from everywhere. You work hard, you get a nice job, and you live your life. And it's it's crazy to me because when I graduated high school, I got a good job. I worked at a warehouse. I was making $12 an hour, and I thought I was gold. Because I was still living at home at the time. So I was like, yeah, well, this is it. This is how it's supposed to be. But then real life kicks in. And I've kind of like my working years, my manhood working years from around about 20. I've lost that job, and then I started looking for other things. So there's things around that's you have to start from the bottom everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if you don't have a skill, you don't have
Yeah.
any qualifications. You have to start from the bottom. You go to McDonald's, you got to start with the fries. You don't go to immediately cooking burgers or taking orders. So me, I took a different route. I kind of like met a woman that I thought I was going to be with. Everybody has these. I never met nobody that met a girl and then said, okay, 20 years we married, and then 65 years we still together. You go through your little ups and downs, but I wasn't right within. So, we married and we divorced, but that took me to Germany, where I am now. And when I got here in Germany, I started looking for different ways to, break out, so to speak. And, I was always thinking I have to be a provider for, you know, whoever I want to become or whoever I want to be with, but I had nothing. I had little to nothing. So I started contracting. So when I started contracting, that took me different places. I've been to Kuwait, I've been to Afghan, I've been to Iraq, all over the Middle East, pretty much. And it set me up. But here's the kicker: I didn't learn anything. I didn't learn anything about money because if I did, I would have still had some, from those contracting days. Because I made over six figures 3 years straight, you know. But in my mind, nobody taught me really about money. I spent money, I spent money, I spent money. Anything I thought I could have, I went and got it. Anything I thought I wanted, I went and got it. And, I still wasn't grown up yet because I was still around 28 through the 30 years. And it fluctuated because one of the best things you can teach your kids, if you have any, is the value of money and how to use it. I wasn't taught that value. I mean, I was taught by my uncle a long time ago. He would give me $1 and say, "You need to have 50 cents by next week." It didn't compute to me then, you know. But now breaking out from all that, and I had the little downfall where, I said, I need to make something happen. I don't really want to go back to work, but I was forced to. The thing I did next was I said, I fell into the trap first. You look online and, everybody's making X amount of money real quick, or, they tried something and Eureka is happening. So I was like, you know
Yep,
what?
yep.
I can do that too. Yeah. Little did I know, there's a lot behind that. It's not something that you just jump into and say, okay, I'm here. It's my turn to win. Eh, I've been on this journey for 6, 7 years, and the first five and a half, I was going in circles. Now, this is coming up to the point where I am now. I was going around in circles. I was buying this. I was doing this. I was trying to, excess of throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. You know, for me, nothing stuck. And I was like, either somebody's lying here, somebody's not telling me the truth, or I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So I had to take accountability and look at certain aspects of it for myself. You know, the best thing I can ever do and the best thing I can ever tell anybody that's jumping into the entrepreneur space is learn a skill. Because if you don't learn a skill, you're just going to be in that rat race. It's just like a job. Nobody wants to be an entrepreneur and work just like they're in a job 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and you still got nothing for it. So back up to today, I've under my belt, let's just say in the last year, I have maybe, I want to say 15 different skills that I have attributed to myself, and those are money making income skills. It's I had to take it upon myself and say, you know what, enough is enough. I can't go with, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every Jill, Bob, and Bentley and stuff like that. Well, not you, Bob, not you, Bob. But I had to sit myself down and had to talk with myself and say, you know what, either you're gonna go back to work or you're gonna make this work. I chose to make it work, so I had to sit down. It doesn't matter how long, and I had to focus on one thing, just one thing. And I think that was my biggest thing, my biggest jump from the entrepreneur field to the mindset of I had to work 40 hours a week, you know.
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm branching out to bigger and better things, of course, because now I have the freedom to do so. My family is well taken care of. They okay. I can't say, I'm a billionaire, they can do whatever they want. Now, I'm not LeBron James. They can't do that yet. So I mean, but in any sense, if I had something to tell anybody, I would just say take accountability and learn a skill. So
Yeah,
that's where I'm
Lamont,
at with it right now.
thank you, Lamont,
Yeah.
for sharing.
Awesome. That
Yeah,
was great. That was really, really great.
I
Yeah,
I
want
appreciate
we've
that.
known each other for a little bit now, and there's some nuggets in there that I had no clue about. That's nuts. That's
Well, I'll
nuts.
tell you what, if you get hit in the head enough times, you start to learn a few things. So, no, that's why I say it's okay to fail. It's not a problem to fail, as long as you learn something from that failure. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
like the example that you used about like how your uncle said, "All right, here's a dollar, and then I want 50 cent by next week." That's a great example
Yep.
because many people would go buy bubble gum or buy a pop or whatever it was back in the day. I know you're young, Lamont, so I want to just get that preface. But but yeah, seriously, because I mean, like, it's just it really allows you to understand value, and I think that's another word that people I need to better understand value. It's
yeah,
like you could show people all the fancy stuff, like the great life, but if you're not providing value to them, you're providing them nothing. It's actually worse to just do shiny object or fancy stuff in their materialistic things. That
Yeah.
doesn't excite me.
dead
That
on.
how do I get out of where I'm currently at? That's what I want you to get me to that point, and then some. Not just get me out, but be able for me to be able to continue to do that and lead others to do the same thing.
Exactly.
That's the big thing. So
Exactly.
I love that example you used, Lamont. I think I really was able to mentally picture that as you were talking, and it just I was like, damn, that's a really good one for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what? I missed out on some of these phases that came out, some of these trends that came out because I was in the heart of Bitcoin. And I wanted to do it, but I was like, what is this Bitcoin? What is this? And I was making 220,000 a year. So buying something into that, you know what I bought instead? I bought some Iraqi dinars that never panned out.
Never
You know,
found. Yep.
yeah,
I know several people that have done the same thing, and they are just
you
sitting
know,
on a bunch of dinars.
I can just burn them right now because it's worthless. Even if I
Yeah.
trade it in, I wouldn't get the value of it that I paid for.
No,
So
not at all. Not at all.
So
I'm like, if I would have jumped on some of these things, if I was aware, I wasn't in the awareness state. I was in the, let me buy something state.
Yeah.
And I just jumped on the bandwagon. Everybody else was buying Iraqi dinos while we was down there. So I was like, yeah, let me get about 2 million of those, 2 million of those. Now I gotta, you would think I said, okay, I'm gonna be a millionaire real quick, even if it goes up to a penny, because right now the currency rate was like 0.00001. It doesn't even compute. You know what I mean? But if it would have jumped up to a cent, oh, I could have had about $20 million, you know? And that said something to me because I was like, I wasn't in the mindset to receive money. I wasn't in the right mindset to even look for information or research or anything like that. I was just going with the flow. But if I would have jumped on the Bitcoin, I would have been better off because Bitcoin back then was like 0.001 cents. So it was below a cent. And look where it's at now. So
Yeah.
the thing is, you have to look forward or do your research. You know, I could tell you to buy something from me, but still do your research. Don't just come to me and say, oh, he's gold. Do your research, and then come back to me, and I'll enlighten
well, the thing about it is like, but I mean, even though you missed the trend, that's still okay. You know,
you.
and I mean, like a lot of people say
Yeah,
the trend is your friend. I agree to that to an extent, but I mean, like, if everyone hops on at one time, it's gonna be oversaturated, and then it's gonna be all messed up from there. So, like, start your new trend, start your new way of doing something that's
yeah,
profitable for all parties, not just one party. Because first person that gets in, then they're just it evens out at that point. And it's not really a trend. It's more like um, it's a phase. It happens quickly,
yeah,
and then it's over.
yeah, yeah.
And so Lamont, a question I wanted to ask you is like you said you're making six
Mhm,
figures. And I mean, people a lot of people don't make that in a lifetime
mhm.
in some cases. And so just I guess provide just enlighten us like why would you leave? I know we talked about like time freedom and being able to do your own thing and like that, but why would you leave such a profitable job?
Well, I had a family, okay, and I was only allowed to have maybe 4 weeks a year to see them, you know, 2 weeks here and then another 2 weeks. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but if you want to have a family, that's not the best position you want to be in, you know. Um, and I had three girls at the time, and I was like, you know what, Mama said come home, so I had to come home. It wasn't one of those things that I need help. I don't mind you having the money, whatever. But sometimes when you have a family, it takes two. I mean, you can ask Bob about that. There's some things that, mom can do that I can't. And it's something that I can do that mom can't. But it's a collective, you know. And so I said, you know what? Let me just end this contract. I'll wait to the contract to end and then I just won't re-up. And I said, from that point on, I said, it's got to be a way that I can mimic the money that I'm making right now. And that's when I turned into the online space, because I said, well, first it was like everybody else is doing it. They can do it. I can do it too. And I was like, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, but I'm not the darkest one either. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and see if I can do that. And it's a wonderful journey. It's filled with ups and downs. And I actually hit a brick wall, maybe about a year ago or so. And then I started having little anxiety attacks because, the pressure. I was like, you know what? This is not happening. I've been 5, 6 years on this journey. There's nothing happening, nothing happening. And then I got sick of seeing somebody else's success online. I got sick of seeing, how easy somebody else is having it when I'm having a hard go at it. It created this anxiety. Now, this, like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. I've had anxiety. I've had depressive states. And it's some things that I said, you know what, just forget everything. I don't care what they come take. If I don't have the money, I just don't have it, you know. But I had to look inward and say, okay, there's something that I want. There's something that I truly want to do. There's something truly that I have to give to the world. And whatever I failed at or whatever didn't pan out, I make little notes of it, but then I learn from them too. And what I do with those failures, I turn around and reteach those failures of what you should not do, you know? And information comes to you in various forms, whether you know it or not. It can come as in passively, you can ask for information, or you can learn on your own and you can fail. Now, all three is still going to be a lesson. But number three, you're going to fail a lot more than you ever win. But you have to turn those failures into lessons of something that you can use, something that's tangible, and something that you can move forward with. That's why we call it a journey. So that's why I left my job. I just it's family.
Awesome. That's awesome right there.
Well, that man. I mean, and I mean, like you're putting what's important first. You're keeping your priorities in line
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of people can say that they do, but I mean, I take a look, and I don't judge. I try. Well, I try not to at least. I mean, sometimes it comes out. We're human, we're flesh. But I'm just
Mhm.
like, you told me you wanted X, Y, and Z, but I mean, you're doing the complete opposite of what you're supposed to be doing in order for that to happen. And I think sometimes we're our own hypocrites as well. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Kind of leading into my story, my origin story, and so. I grew up in a two-parent household, younger brother. His name was Chandler, and we were always, for some reason, competing for our parents' affection. I don't know why. Even though I was the superior one, obviously. But it really, I was like, and I had a great, like I said, great childhood, great upbringing. Our parents instilled in us at a young age to have a great work ethic, to not give up. I played sports since I was 4 years old. I played soccer, and I still play to this day, even though my body's saying, "Stop, you old man." But you know what? For a long time I wanted to go play professional soccer. That's what I wanted to do. I thought I had the skills to it. I was scoring 30 goals a season. I was fast. I was quick. I was agile. I got a groin injury in when I was like 15, 16 years old, and they were talking about amputating. And I was like, oh shit. So like that was like the real like big moment in my life. And obviously I still have both my legs, so it worked out. But I was scared. I was like, okay, I'm losing a leg. I can never play soccer again. I could never do the things I want to do in life. And for a moment, I thought I was about to give up. It just really and not many people know about that story of my life. Not that I haven't wanted to share it, but it's just never really come up in conversation. And so once that kind of got derailed, I kind of just played more for just staying in shape and everything like that. I was always in good shape. Um, and I went to got my diploma, and went to over to UCF for college, Orlando, big party school. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta be the cool kid, gotta be the new kid on the block, gotta be the one everyone likes. So we'd have parties at our apartment every single Friday. I don't know how I survived. But then I worked at Disney for about a year and a half during that time, 80 hours a week working at Disney. And so I'd party and then somehow wake up the next morning and go to work at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. till about 3 p.m. And my boss and my coworkers were like, Carson, how you doing? Like, well, obviously I didn't tell them I was drinking because I'd be fired in an instant. So that led to like a good solid couple years of 3 years of hard drinking, liquor, beer, you name it. It was I tried ecstasy one time. That was a roller coaster of a ride. Mom, if you're watching this, don't record this. Um, but but so yeah, and I really kind of that's what kind of led to my depression. I was depressed for 2013. So I graduated 2012 from high school, went to UCF Orlando area 2012, 2013. All and that led to my depression of about 7, 8 years. Hard depression. I really tried to kill myself twice. I was on suicide watch. I was in checking myself into mental hospitals. I was Baker acted 3 or 4 times. And there's a point where I wasn't getting sleep because I was working so much and I was going to school full time. And how I got to be average, I'm still wondering how that's even possible. And um, there was one time I remember when I was in a mental hospital, I saw demons because I was losing sleep so much. I saw demons outside cackling at me. And I was like, okay, I need to turn this stuff around. It was getting to a point where it was getting dangerous. And basically, doctors were like, dude, whatever the hell you're doing, you need to freaking do like a complete 360 and to like yesterday. I was like, okay, sounds good. And so fast forward to probably 2022. So right during COVID, I was in grad school and I finished grad school, got my master's degree and in 2023. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm in my career. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it got to the point where I was like, wait a minute, rest of my life till I'm 60, 70 years old. I want a family. I want to be able to do things. I mean, I'd be gone Monday through Friday during the day, and that just wasn't plausible for me. And so many times I see people that are in my profession and they've been doing it since they're retiring at age 80. I'm like, yikes.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand that. And like they can like I work with some people that work in it for a long time and I'm just like how like be honest with me how can you do it this long? And like I'm passionate about it. I'm like that's great. I'm passionate about things in life too and I ask them like did you ever want to do X, Y, and Z? Do you have any regrets in life? And some of them say yes. Some of them say no. It all depends on the person and the mood they're at in that moment. But I just got to a point where I was like, I need to do something now, um, before I too content, to get too comfortable. Because once we get too content, as we all know, and too comfortable, our ambition, our drive, our motivation goes out the door, and it's hard to reclaim it. We can do all these things to get. I mean, I've tried everything from A to Z, until I found something that I'm doing now, and I absolutely love it. And I mean, like I know you guys have kids, and some of you watching have kids. I don't have kids, and I know one day I do want to have kids and a wife and everything like that. And I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for complete success when I get to that point. So I started early, and that's basically what I wanted to do. I want to set a foundation. I know there's no manual for having kids, obviously,
No.
and living a perfect life. Because if there is, then please let me know
Yeah.
what it is because I'll prepare mentally right now. Um, but I mean, you really have to put things into perspective, and I mean, you have to make sacrifices in order to get to where you want to be in life. I mean, there's nights I lose sleep over being able to work. And someone's like, Carson, you work so much, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm like, okay, and that's what motivation to work and to grind. And some people are saying, well, stop hustling so much and just kind of live your life. I'm like, I am living my life. I'm doing what I want to do. And when someone pays my bills, I'll I'll take my foot off the gas and I'll put my foot on the brake. But I mean, I got bills. We all have bills. We all have lives. I mean, I don't think anybody's in the right to tell someone else how to live their life. I'd rather go off coffee and not sleep at night in order to get to the point where I want to get to. And that's basically my journey so far. I mean, I'm having success in what I'm doing currently, and really just providing value and helping others do the same thing. Because I know a lot of the world out there is struggling, whether they want to admit it or not, or they think they're safe, they think they're secure. You know, those two S words that we know are both bullshit. And so I just want people just to really open their eyes and see what is out here and really challenge themselves to be better, to do better. Not just want better, because I mean, you can want everything A through Z, like I said, but I mean, until you make that commitment to yourself and basically not necessarily get mad at yourself for not doing it right then and there, but like giving yourself grace, but also like holding yourself um, accountable and being responsible. And so, that's my message to people, really. Guys, there's so much more out there than what you're being led on to. Um, this is gonna get dicey, but some people I like to compare a prison to a school, because I mean it's just you're being told what to do from a young age. And um if you do a side by side comparison, the meals are a certain way, like on a tray. And I mean, it's just you're following line, following directions, all this stuff, and it's just like you're not being able to think for yourself. And I might rub people the wrong way, but I mean, sometimes you have to be rubbed the wrong way in order to get to the actual meat and potatoes of the meal. So I don't mind ruffling feathers, but I mean, I'm here for hardcore truth. And really, guys, just allow your brain to expand and really allow it to function the way it's supposed to, not just be told what to do every single day, every single second.
Yep. Way of it. I want to like we have to talk about this at some point during this podcast journey and stuff, but like you raise a very, very valid point, Carson, about schools and the comparison to that of prison. Our founding fathers for what made this country great. Um, they've looked back on the people that pumped money into schools and looking into making the general mass compliant. Um, and I think that entrepreneurs um, aren't compliant. They go out, they break boundaries, they travel their own trails. But that's super valid. Thank you very much for bringing that up.
Of course, yeah, I mean, like an entrepreneur can make as much money as he or she wants to. Employee can't.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And to piggyback off of that, you you don't notice it when you're in school, uh, because we were preconditioned not to notice anything out of school. Um, the, the the prison system makes more money than the school system anyway. So it's kind of backwards if you ask me. It's almost like if they pretty much telling you if you don't do this, you don't do that, you're going to jail. Period. And I want to say almost 25% of people that listen to that, they wind up in jail because either, you know, they used to the school bell ringing, they used to, going to this class to teach you all about nothing. I can't really say I hated school, but I didn't learn a lot in school, you know, and it took me to hit a couple of brick walls to find out what life was really like. And it's not a good picture that they paint in school because they say, okay, yeah, you do this, you go to college, you go to the next step, and it was like that's not necessarily the path that was built for me. You know, it's a systematic approach to what you know an organization or a cult's supposed to do. You know, from
Yeah.
preschool to the end of college. then you've got maybe 5, 6 more years to get a degree that you might not even get to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you wind up, you start off in debt for one. And then, you try to worry about trying to get out of debt, but all that, it's like a backdrop of, that's where the anxiety comes from. That's where the pressure comes from. And, I'm sorry to hear that you tried to unalive yourself twice. I have as well. And it's hard to talk about sometimes because they were like, oh, who, you try to do that? I was like, yeah, I'm not, you know, okay all the time, and it's okay not to be okay. But, when you face the pressures of, everyday life, of, what you've been taught, what you've been told, and sometimes you need a little guidance, and if you don't have that guidance, the school is the guidance right now, and they're guiding you to fail pretty much. So, I mean, like you said, you want to ruffle some feathers. I'm going to ruffle, the whole damn box because at this point in time, something needs to be said. A lot of people that went to school and succeeded, they'd be like, "Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong." I was like, "Yo, you part of the 1%. What about the other 99% that didn't make it?"
Yeah.
So, I'm very passionate about that, but I'm gonna leave that subject alone. We're gonna talk about that later on down the line.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. I agree with that. Yeah, man. But this has been a really cool experience. Especially for me because I've known you guys for a little while now, and getting to really listen and I guess kind of refresh. But there's some tidbits that I got from Lamont or from Carson that like I had
Uh,
no clue on, no clue. Does that make me less of a friend? I don't know. I
I'm starting
got
to
a question about
question
that.
your motives here.
Right? What's
Yeah,
going on?
Bob, you
Oh
want to
my
land this on what's
God.
going on here?
I don't know. I don't know. But thank you guys so much, because it's really, heartwarming, to know that others like me have gone through similar struggles, if not worse, and that, we're not alone. So thank you guys very much for putting things into perspective and keeping it real. Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
putting the truth out there.
yeah, and I think as much as we try to educate, every now and then we try to educate people the best we can. That's why we actually doing this podcast because it's a lot of people with stories out there that resonate with what we have, whether you know it or not. And you always hear this, you get whatever you have in you is knowledgeable to somebody else. You have to put it out. And we waited so long to put this podcast out. You know what? You're not much of a friend because I waited this long for this stuff to happen. Now is my ranting time. And now I'm gonna get out here. I'm gonna get on you, Carson. I'm gonna get on you, Bob, because we could have did this a long time ago. But just I mean, on a serious note, I mean, I'm glad we're doing this because it's going to help somebody else come out of their shell, whether you know it or not. And I think if I didn't hear a few things from different people that I resonated with, I probably wouldn't have said anything. I would have just been in the corner saying, okay, I can do this by myself. I don't have to, try this. But, no matter how long it takes, I'm going to do it. But it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask questions because if you don't, you're just going to be in that rut even longer,
Yeah,
So,
this really goes back to like a lot of the people that are still stuck on just watching from the sidelines, that haven't made the full commitment to jump and make that bound to, okay, I'm gonna do something on my own. I'm gonna do. We're a testament, us three combined, in showing that, at some point it gets to a point where, okay, we've talked. Now today's day one. Day one is right now. We started it. We got it going. Now, hopefully, other people will be able to like step outside of their shell and be like, all right, I'm going to make a difference in my life and in the lives of the people that I care for and make that step forward. Because it all starts with that first step. Without that
oh
first
yeah.
step, you might as well just stay right there in the sideline, grab me my water as I come back to take a break and go back into the field. How
Oh,
about
that
that?
hurts. That
How about
hurts.
that?
Yeah, guys. And I mean, literally, people that are watching us right now, like we literally met on social media on Facebook. I've actually met Bob in person here in Jacksonville. He was visiting your aunt.
Yes, yes, my
Yeah,
aunt, my
visiting
aunt.
his aunt, and then we sent a picture to Lamont and saying, "In your face." But
Yeah.
but no,
I'm not going
we're
to
planning.
Germany.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
yeah,
Germany.
plan to go to Germany sometime soon. So,
I don't think so.
but
Come
yeah,
on,
but
man.
guys, so it's just a simple friend request, a simple message can really change your life. And I mean, these guys have become my brothers. They were once strangers, but now I can go to them for anything, and that means a lot because I'm not trying to do a pity party or anything like that, but for a majority of my life, I only had a couple people I could go to talk to about certain things. And I mean, now I have two more people, two more brothers, and they mean the world to me. I love them, and it really doing this with them is something that's been a long time coming, but I'm so glad it's the forefront now because our stories are going to impact people, and we're going to allow people to come out of their shells and tell their stories as well. So we're if you want to come on our podcast down the road, let us know. Reach out to one of us, and we'd love to have you on here. We're gonna get some things in the works first, but down the line, we're more than happy to have you on here and really have you share your story and contribute to our conversation. You have to wear a hat though. That's part of the requirement, part of the responsibility.
That's
Um,
rule number one.
Rule number
Gotta have a
one,
hat.
exactly. Yeah. So, guys, do you have any closing thoughts, closing remarks before we ship out?
Bob,
No,
I'm
man.
gonna let you go first. And no, I want to go first because I want Bob in the
Go
middle
for
because
it.
Bob is the builder. Well, no. I lie. Excuse me, public. Let me reiterate something. Okay. It has come to my attention that, I am the middle part of the bread and Bob is one end and Carson is the other end. And, I just want to make sure, I pull these two together, to keep this thing going strong. That's where I'm at. So, Bob, if you will, you go ahead first and I'll can it up the middle and, everything will be fine.
Gee, thanks, Lamont.
Oh, anytime, man. It's a perfect segue. I try to help out when I
uh,
can.
nah, man. I think that this was really cool. I like being able to hang out with you guys and hopefully down the line we can like really open up some conversations that will help
Yeah.
other people and really open up their eyes to the possibilities that they have within themselves. Um, so I'm really looking forward to that. And you know, general public, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, we're here for you. It could be a DM, it could be, an email, we'll probably have a website up, sometime in the future, sooner than later for sure. But, shoot us a line if you have any questions, you know, whatever, let us know. Because at no point did anybody say during this podcast that we're experts. We are not professionals. We're not gurus. We're not going to save your life. But if you need guidance to get your shit together and start off with something new, exciting on a journey that could very well possibly set you up for the future to give you time freedom, let us know. We're here for
Okay, well, with that being said, I am a guru. I am an expert, because,
you.
you know, I'm not going to sell
well,
myself short, but
well,
nah,
say it
I
now.
mean,
Say it now. Yeah,
I
say it now.
mean, but we all we're good at something, you know. We're not good at everything because that's almost impossible, it's really impossible. But what we can do, we can guide, we can teach, we can mentor, because in some aspects of life we've been there. And I'm not saying we want to go back to where we, you know, maybe failed, but we want to revisit the failures because it's a lesson to be learned, you know. And I think that's the biggest thing a lot of people have problems with at this point in time is, what if I fail? What am I going to look like? What's going to happen then? I mean, don't worry about that, because even when you was a kid, you learned how to walk. I mean, you fell, God knows how many times when you started to walk, you fell, you fell, you fell, but you got up. And that's been taught since birth, and that's instincts, you know. So don't never let nobody tell you or think what other people saying about you is a bad thing. Fail, fail fast, but learn from your failure. That's my takeaway for today.
Well said. Well said.
I'll do my last part, and then we'll ship out. But guys, I mean, everyone has a story. Everyone has a beginning. Everyone has a middle. Everyone has a desired end. And so you alone dictate that path, that journey. So many times I see people fall short. They don't use their whole potential, and it saddens me because I mean everyone has an equal opportunity, equal chance to do so much great in this world, make an impact, make a difference in someone else's life. And when someone says, I can't, I won't, that like breaks my heart more than anything else in the world. So if you're watching this right now, guys, and watching our future episodes, just know that you're enough. You're good enough. You have the ability to move mountains, to be able to do so much more than what you're being told that you can't do. So humble yourself, allow yourself to grow, to learn, and as Lamont said, to fail, because it's all part of the process, all part of the experience. If you're too many people are afraid to actually live life and not want to live life. So please, we're asking you, we're not going to beg you, actually live your life. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself to be the person that you want to become. I'm Carson Steffens. That's Lamont Brayworth. That's Bob Gonzalez. Who are you? Not just today, not just tomorrow, but every single day. Look in the mirror and ask yourself that one question and what you want to accomplish, what you want to continue to accomplish, whose life you want to change. So that being said, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Caps and Convos. And we'll see you next week. All right, peace.
Take it easy. Take it easy.